before I go on to what I planned to say, just respond to one comment by Martin. Yes, it is absolutely the case that in 2010 we went into coalition with the Conservatives, and the aim was to reduce the deficit to zero by the end of that Parliament. And it's something that we as a government, we failed to do. And we knew we were going to fail to do that in 2012, which is why the plan was then changed. It had to be flexible, and that's when we changed it so that the deficit was reduced by half by the end of Parliament, which, oddly enough, was actually Labour Party policy in the 2010 general election. So, in a sense, we actually went into a financial situation with aims which actually matched what your party had set out in the 2010 election. You do try to have it both ways, because you attack us for reducing the deficit. And indeed, I remember quite a few meetings where we had a few years ago where you yourself, Mark, was saying that we were going too far, too fast. In other words, we're trying to cut the budget too fast. And this is when we'd already changed to trying to reduce it by only 50%. So therefore, you can't really complain that the deficit, sorry, that the national debt has gone up. It would have gone up under Labour, it did go up under us as well. So you can't complain about us reducing the deficit and putting up the national debt at the same time, because they both go hand in hand. I know the politics of it, but the practical economics of it don't actually stack up. So, right. I'm going to start with some of the positives about Gateshead over the past year. I was surprised, Mark, you didn't mention the energy company. I think that is a major feather in the council's cap. I'm delighted that we were one of the first councils to actually go down this route once the law was changed in 2010 after the Liberal Democrats went into government, because this was one of the changes to allow authorities to set up energy companies. And we were one of the first to go with that, so I'm pleased about that. But what it demonstrates is what we should be doing generally, which echoes what you were saying about the need to grow Gateshead. Because we can't be dependent entirely on business rates and council tax for our funding. We have to have alternative means of raising revenue, of raising income. Now, when we had the various meetings of the advice groups and so on, I called this Gateshead's Sovereign Wealth Fund. In other words, it's a set of investments that generate income for us, and that income can then go into providing council services. And that is what the energy company does. And I'm looking forward to that expanding in future years as well. I would very deeply love to see it expanded to Wickham and the west of the borough and to the centre of the borough, and obviously we'd be looking for it to be using sustainable, renewable sources of fuel, which hopefully will be produced within the locality as well. I'm also particularly excited about the Gateshead Quays project because, again, it's a major investment for us, but also it could be a major source of income as well. And if you look at other towns that have a major conference venue, they have an enormous tourism industry based on it as well. And that's jobs. That's people's livelihoods. That's people's businesses. And that's what we're trying to achieve, trying to build up. So again, the Gateshead Quays project, I'm very excited about it. Clearly there are still issues about closing the funding gap on it, but I'm confident that we'll be able to do that. And the Great North Exhibition, again, it's about jobs. And it would be very easy for me to stand here and say, oh, we're spending money on our cultural bid, and at the same time, we need money elsewhere. And I've had the press trying to get me to do that before, and I've refused to do it. I've supported projects like this. But at the end of the day, these projects ultimately have to give us a payback, a dividend to the area. And we're not looking to spoon feed them forever and That's one of the comments I'll come back to a bit later. Before I go into the rest of the speech, I just want to say thank you to the officers for their support to us during the period that we put this budget together. Thank you to the officers who come to our group to do the presentations and talks. Thank you to the officers who just come who are doing the work of presenting to the advisory groups as well. And I think I'm being reasonable in saying that our input, I think, has been listened to as well. Not on everything, but there again, there's the members on the other side whose views may not have been taken fully into account, but we can't always be acted upon. And I think we've had a fair hearing, I think, is how I would describe it. But obviously there are differences over the details. I've been in politics now for 36 years. I've been on the council for 30 years. And I have to say that these are quite tumultuous times. And I remember when I was first elected, it was just after Gates had been red capped. So I remember the meeting where Gateshead Council had to meet again to reset the budget after having been one of the 20 councils that were told to reset their budget by the government when the council tax bills, the rates bills rather, had already gone out. So that was quite an interesting experience to go through. But even so, I have to say that the past 2 years have actually, for me politically, been quite difficult. Because like all of us, we have a set of values that brought us into politics. And for the first time in my life, for the past 18 months or so, I found that those values, not party political values, but just general values, have been challenged and have been on the losing side. And that worries me. And that's the context that we're in now. And one of the big changes that we've had, and this might, in the scale of things, seem quite small, but actually it's quite fundamental as well, is the government's announcement back in autumn 2015 that we were moving revenue support grant. And as an historian, I was trying to think the last time councils didn't get support from the government. And I managed to get back as far as 1848. It wasn't quite a government support, but it was a recognition within the poor law system, or about the history, that the costs of need have to fall on a wider community. And that is what revenue support is about. It's about effectively taking from wealthier areas who can afford it to support poorer areas who need it. Now that is not a permanent state of affairs, because once a poorer area improves, get on their feet and are moving forward, they don't need as much support. But what's actually happening here is that we've got a government that's putting the rug out from underneath us, because they now have a very clear ideological decision, which is all councils need to be self-financing. Now, in the ideal world, that is, in a sense, a great state of affairs to be in, because you raise your own money, you live within your means, you decide how you're going to spend that money, you support your own communities. But we're not in an ideal world. We're in a world that does have significant differences in income, and a tax system, the local council tax system, which is actually works against poorer areas, because we cannot actually raise from our own tax base the full needs, the full costs of supporting our own needs. And that's why I'm actually quite concerned about the decision to end needs-based assessment for councils. It's about transferring central taxation onto local taxation. And also taking into account what you said, your description, Martin, about it's actually a sort of a national tax that's operated on a local level. That is very much the case with the business rates, because yes, they will be devolved to us, and yes, we will get less back because the redistributive element is gone. But we don't even get the chance to set either the valuation or the level of rates. So we can't actually have control over our own tax base. And even on the council tax, yes, we do have freedom to lower it or to raise it, but only to a certain level, at which point the government effectively forces us to go for a referendum. And I would say that the burden is now being switched from national taxation, which includes things that I like, some of us do actually like taxes, wealth taxes, I'm a supporter of wealth taxes, and what we're doing is we're going from a sort of mixed bag of taxes where the rich pay larger amount to a system where our main revenue is going to come from a tax base which is more predominantly based on ordinary working people. And that's what the council tax was. What we've also faced in the last 18 months is Brexit. However much we want to avoid discussing Brexit, is going to impact on us here in Gateshead. Brexit means that one of the few sources of funding that we could have independent of government, which was needs-based, is going to disappear as well. And that's clearly going to have an effect on us in Gateshead because we have been a beneficiary of that. One of the immediate impacts is Brexit is inflation. We've gone through a period of low inflation. That is ending. And it's ending because of the value of the pound. The value of the pound has gone down because international confidence in the British economy has gone down. That directly affects our budget. Because some of you may already have seen things like energy prices are going up. So on the domestic energy market, they're going up by 10%. Some of them will go up even more. And therefore, that's going to impact on our budget as well. And we need to inflation-proof our budget for the future. And one of the things that we don't have control over, but we have to pick up the cost of, is the ageing population. Now, it's absolutely fantastic that we can. It was reported on the news this morning that they're predicting 500,000 100-year-olds by 2050. I'll not be quite 100 in 2050, but I will be in 2063. And the issue for us is how do we deal with the population that is ageing? And it makes me very angry that one of the ways to deal with an ageing population, which is to have people coming in from other countries to support the services that we need and cannot provide from our own workforce, we're going to lose that. And that's going to impact on us as well. So yes, we have to pick up the bill for the ageing population, but we're also going to find it much more difficult to deliver the services because we will have a reduced workforce because the skilled and I have to say unskilled workers that we need are not going to be here in sufficient number. You may have seen the migration figures this morning, they're down. Now that has an impact on all of us. It's going to be one of those factors which over the next few years will impact directly on us as an authority. Over the past year, we've also, and this is where I will be critical of you, Martin, we've lost the ability to have, we've lost the devolution proposals. And in Brexit Britain, we're going to need that voice for our region more than we ever have needed before, and that is now lost. And I noticed the journal headline this morning that is critical of us. Now, Conservativeness has always been critical of areas where the an opportunity, an imperfect one that none of us here were particularly happy about. But the consequences, I think, of not going down that route were worse than the consequences of going through it. So, we've got to future-proof our council against Brexit, against inflation, against the ending of revenue support, and against an ageing population and how we deal with it. And it's therefore I, on behalf of the group, accept the need to go for a 5% council tax rise. From 2010 to 2014, I think it was absolutely right that we had a council tax freeze, take advantage of the government's cash that was available, limited though it was able to achieve that. It was a time when pay was not rising above inflation, or if it was only marginally, and there were periods during that time, indeed before that in 2008 to 2010, where our wages were actually falling behind inflation. So people were either worse off or not much better off. And it was right that we have a council tax freeze to be able to help local economies and help people with the money in their own pockets. But we're now at a point where that's a luxury we can no longer afford. And we therefore have to go for a 5% council tax rise. Now, within the overall budget that you presented to us, Martin, there are some things in it which we like. We were happy to, and indeed it was my colleague Daniel, who was the one who was making for us the noise about the gritting of minor roads, and I'm pleased you even mentioned that one yourself. Indeed, both of the issues I have mentioned in my speech here on issues that you mentioned as well, because you've cut back you've not cut back, you've scrapped the decision to cut back on weed control. And I have to say that the Cabinet on Tuesday quite rightly expressed annoyance at the government's delay in being able to get the final details of the settlement to local authorities. I think it was either debated yesterday or maybe sometime this afternoon. It was read, in which case a lot of authorities have already set their budgets. That it never faces amazes me how governments of all colours deal with local government. It's almost like informing them of what they need to do as an afterthought to the decision made to take themselves at a late stage in the process. But just as Martin was unhappy with some of the government's failure to get the details to us, there are some issues here on our side that we are unhappy with. For example, we're trying to find figures for exactly how much we subsidise Sage and Baltic. Now, Martin, you have criticised me in the past for arguing that the subsidy to those bodies should end, because you believe, rightly, that they were major contributors to the economy of the region. I don't disagree with that, but we think, and this is linked to the point I made earlier, they have to at some point stand on their own 2 feet, and therefore trying to actually work out what we could save from not having them subsidised by us is a bit difficult for us, because all we were told was that the figures of the saving, which is 100,000, we don't know exactly how much we're actually providing them currently. It could be that we are providing them 100,000, it could be 1 million, we don't know. Figures like that need to be in the budget. We need to see those before we can actually make a fully comprehensive decision on this. For example, if it's £200,000 each, and that is one of the suggestions that we've had to us, it's not been confirmed. Well, 200,000 each, that's £400,000. That's quite a significant part of the savings that from the library's budget, that's nearly all the library's budget. And we need to be able to find, as I say, see what these proper budgets are, so that we can, in our view, allocate the money accordingly. And I think certainly with Sage and Baltic, they have to be put on notice that the time of the subsidy funds is now the clock's ticking on that one. And in terms of the library review, I'm going to have to repeat what I said in Cabinet the other today, but we're in a state of almost perpetual consultation about the libraries. And we'll finish one library review, we'll close 3 libraries, and then we go immediately into another consultation about the future of the libraries that we have, and then we go through that for a year, and then again we close one library. We need a final vision of what the system is going to be like in 2021, when we know there will be no government funding, but also where we know we have to provide a comprehensive service. But at the moment, we are having a situation where wards are being pitted against other wards, where communities are being pitted against other communities in an attempt to save their libraries. And we need a fairer system that actually looks at all the libraries and creates a system for the whole of the library network. It may well be a voluntary network of smaller libraries and a new central library, which is not its current location, but more central to Gateshead. But at the moment, my fear with what we have is that if somebody were to challenge it legally, then the comprehensive, it would be very difficult for us to argue that we have a comprehensive library service, because you've now got one of the areas in Gateshead which does not have any council-run libraries, which is in the West. Now, it may be that we could argue that it's a transition that we're going through, but I think we need to know what we're, at the end of the transition, what this structure should be like. I've lived in Gateshead all my life. I was born here, and I've had various opportunities to leave the area. And despite the criticisms I had when I spent a decade commuting up and down to London, I never left, because Gateshead is home for me. So that's how I look at this whole budget process. This is my home. This is what the area where I have chosen to live, and I have left it easily many years ago. I chose not to. So this is where I am, this is where I want to live, and this is where I want to get the best for the people that I represent and for the council area as a whole. And therefore, we're not going to vote against this budget, because there's much in it which we support. But there are details in it which we find uncomfortable and which we cannot support, which we would have done differently.